elected. Quite a job. Boy, he speaks well, doesn't he? That's why you elected a mayor, huh? Great guy. Thank you for being here today. Middle of the afternoon and a rainy day, and you came out to see me, and I appreciate the chance to say hello to so many folks from Northeast Ohio. What a wonderful place this is. You're lucky to live in such a beautiful state with such wonderful people. You know, I've had the occasion over my life to get to know our country pretty well. In the last couple of years, of course, I've been campaigning, but before that, I worked in the private sector and had the occasion actually of helping organize the Olympic Winter Games in 2002. And that was a real thrill. Actually, I came into the Olympic Games at a time of, well, some scandal. There was a report of bribery, and the people of Utah who normally you look to help support an event like that were pretty discouraged. There was even a call on the part of some people to send the games back. Don't have them. Give them back to the International Olympic Committee. And I was worried as I took the job because I knew we needed about 25,000 people to volunteer to work at the Olympics. And it's 17 straight days, by the way, a volunteer is. 17 days without pay, and by the way, without tickets either. You know, you work for the Olympic Games, and you host the figure skating and the downhill skiing and so forth, but you don't get to see them because you're out in the parking lot, or taking tickets or manning the security booths and so forth. And so we needed about 25,000 people. I wondered if, given all the scandal, people of America would show up. And so we, just before the games began, we ran an ad, about a year out. We ran an ad. It said something like this: no pay, no benefits, no tickets, sign up quick, the positions are going fast. And much to our surprise, when we checked the internet where people could sign up a little while later, some 47,000 people had signed up. This is... It's an amazing country of people that will do extraordinary things for their friends and make a difference in their lives. I love America. I heard a story, I won't tell you exactly when, but very recently, about a small business owner, and she had 2 employees. One of them was her husband, and the other was a technician. The business hasn't been going so well during the Obama economy. And so she ultimately lost her house. The business has shrunk by about 40%. She lost her house, but you know what? She made sure that her technician did not see a decline in income, and so her technician still lives in her house. And she made the priority keeping her technician in her house. It feels good that she was able to do so, even though she lost her own. It's an amazing country. The kind of sentiment we have, the sense of right and wrong. These have been tough years, as you know. These last 3.5, almost 4 years, actually 4 years of tough times. As I've gone across the country, I've heard stories that sometimes break your heart. I was with one couple. They're planning for their retirement, both in their 60s. They bought a couple of duplexes, and the rental income from the duplexes and the value of those duplexes was going to be their retirement. But the values is so collapsed that now they don't know if they can retire. Wonder how they're going to do it. I met a barber in his 70s. Thought he'd retire by now. I said, why haven't you retired? He said, well, because my investments are not worth very much anymore, and I just can't afford to retire. I met a woman who said that she and her husband had one child, wanted to have a second child, but needed to take out a second mortgage on their home. This was in Florida, to be able to pay for the expenses of a second child. And so they took out the second mortgage, and then everything collapsed. The value of their home collapsed, and that mortgage, like the first mortgage, became underwater along with their equity. And she wondered how they were going to make things through. I was at a rally just in Norfolk last week, shaking hands with people as I will at the end of this event, and a young woman came up to me and she said, I've been out of work for a year. can you help me? And it touches your heart. I said, I'm going to do my very best to help you. And millions of other people are out of work. This is very different than what we were promised. As the mayor said, at the convention, the Democratic convention about 4 years ago, the president got up and spoke about hope and change, and together we could do anything. But he hasn't lived up to those kinds of expectations. American people are good-hearted people with a desire for good things to happen to one another. And we hope that this president would be able to be successful. I sure did. And yet he's not been. I know how many people are struggling. I want to do my very best to help them. I'm convinced that my experience will help me get this economy going and get people back to work in good jobs, which they need. Now, the president, in his speech at the Democratic convention, said that he measures progress in an unusual way. Actually, I thought it's kind of a usual way, but he said it was a different way. He said he measures progress by whether people can find good jobs, whether they can pay a mortgage. Well, the last 3.5 years, not enough people have been finding good jobs, and a lot of people have lost their homes. That's a promise he wasn't able to keep. He is now very excited about the fact that the unemployment rate has gone from the high of 10% down to about 8.1%. Of course, we won't forget the fact that when he was putting in place $787 billion of borrowing in his first few months in office, that he said that that borrowing would keep the unemployment rate below 8%. 39 months later, it still is not below 8%. And by the way, there's something about that 8.1% figure you ought to know. You might assume that that number came down from 10% to 8.1% because of all the jobs that have been created. And that assumption would be wrong. The reason that percent came down was because of all the people that dropped out of the workforce. As a matter of fact, if you go back to the 10% time, that was October of 2009, was at 10%. The percentage of workforce age Americans in the workforce was 58.5%, and today it's slightly less than that. So it's not that more people in our workforce have been able to find jobs. Instead, it's that the number of people have dropped out of the workforce, and that's why that percentage has come down. I want not only to see a low unemployment rate, I want to see more people working in good jobs that can afford good mortgages. Now, in just a moment, because this is a town meeting, you're going to get a chance to ask questions, and I'm going to do my best to answer them. And so any questions are allowed. Well, the hand's already up back there. We'll get there in a moment. And here's a hand here. I got a few more things. Well, the hands are going up like crazy. This is a good sign. So I'm going to just say a couple things, and I'm going to begin by saying this. President Obama is employing policies that have not worked. You know that by virtue of looking at the results. We don't have enough people that have got good jobs. Incomes have dropped. You know, the median income in America has dropped by 10% over the last 4 years. Median household income is down $4,000. This is at the same time that the costs have gone up. Health care costs up. Gasoline costs up. Food prices have gone up. It's harder. Americans in the middle class are feeling squeezed, even if they have a job. And obviously most of our citizens have jobs, but boy, these are tough times. I spoke with a college student today who just graduating from college. She's got 3 jobs, all part-time, well beneath the level of skill that she was trained for, wondering how she's going to possibly make ends meet when those college loans start coming due. So these policies have not worked. You look at them. You ask, did Obamacare make it easier for small businesses to create new jobs? No. Did the financial services regulations make it easier for small banks, community banks, to make loans to people or renegotiate mortgages? No, absolutely not. And did the effort to you know, I guess to change the deal between labor and management and to put labor stooges in the National Labor Relations Board? Did that make it more likely for businesses to say, let's hire more people? No. This is a, thank you, I appreciate that. Did the energy policies of cutting back on the leases on federal lands by about half, saying no to drilling in Anwar, putting a moratorium on drilling in the Gulf, not drilling in the outer continental shelf, did those things make it more likely for Americans to go to work in the energy sector? No. The president's policies have not encouraged America to add jobs. They made it harder for small business to do so. We need to have a president who understands what it takes to get the economy going again, not with policies of the past that don't work, but with a vision for the future that'll put American people back to work in good jobs. The president and I have very different visions for what it'll take to get America working again. His vision is to keep spending about $1 trillion more every year than we take in. In my view, that is not just bad economics, it's immoral for us to pass those obligations on to the next generation. And I'll get our budget balanced. His vision is that it's okay for small business to raise taxes from 35% to 40% on small business. I don't want to raise taxes on small business. I want to lower taxes on small business so they can invest in the future. His vision is that in order to bow to the most extreme environmentalists in our nation, we shouldn't build that pipeline from Canada or take advantage of our oil, our coal, our gas, and our nuclear. I like energy that comes from all sources, and I'll get that pipeline into our country. His vision says it's okay to cut our military, that it's okay to cut our military budget, even as the world is not safe. His vision will reduce the number of ships in our Navy. Do you know the number of ships in the U.S. Navy is smaller than any time since 1917? Our aircraft and our Air Force is older and smaller than any time since it was founded in 1947. You know how many troop deployments there have been of our active duty personnel in our military, armed services? He wants to cut the number of armed services personnel. My view is very different. I want to add to shipbuilding. I want to add to purchases of aircraft. I want more troops in our military. And I want to make sure we give our veterans the care our veterans deserve. Let me tell you, we're going to take America in a very different place. He's taking America on a path towards Europe. And Europe's not working there. It's not going to work here. Europe's in real trouble as their debts mount, as people demand more and more from government, and government has to borrow more and more to satisfy their demands. We believe in the freedom of individuals to pursue their dreams, to build enterprises, to encourage small businesses to grow and thrive. This is a land of freedom that drives an economy based on freedom.